Of the Torrington City Council. This is Tuesday, January 21, 2025. Good evening and welcome. We have here with us this evening Ryan Caith from KGOS Radio. This council meeting is being broadcast live on the local radio stations and on the YouTube. We also have Miss Amber Wolfington here from the Torrington Telegram. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I've asked Councilman Shane Victron to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda are the mayor's informational items. Yesterday was Inauguration Day for our new president, Donald J. Trump. Last week, our Wyoming legislature began meeting with its new leadership for the 40-day general session. The city of Torrington has its own new member, Councilman Rick Warren. In this temporal world we all live in, change is inevitable. I hope and pray that all those in positions of leadership in our homes, churches, places of employment, schools, and governments at all levels will seek to lead us in wisdom and with an eye toward what is best for us as we continue to have the grace and mercy of God to continue what has been called, since our national birth, the great American experiment in self-governance. Recently, we had our first taste of bitterly cold weather, but the forecast is indicating a bit of warm-up compared to the last several days. During this bitter cold, please check in on your neighbors, relatives, and friends, especially those who are older and/or disabled, children, and pets. As always, please drive safely, please slow down, watch out for pedestrians, and please do not use your cell phones while driving. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, which includes the minutes from the January 7th, 2025 council meeting as published.
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilman Kelly to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Deal. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll call for vote. All those in favor of approval of the consent agenda as set forth signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, the consent agenda is approved. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda itself. I have removed item number 1 as that issue is moot, and I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda, which would then consist of items 2 through 7.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the agenda as amended.
I have a motion from Councilman Victron to approve the agenda as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Kelly. Any further discussion? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approval of the agenda as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, the agenda is approved as amended. Next item on the agenda is what we refer to as the public forum. I don't see any takers for that this evening, but I do like to explain it. If one wants to speak to the council for 2 minutes, they may fill out a form and place it in that black box in front of Councilman Warren. This is for non-agenda items. As I said, there is a time limit of 2 minutes, and the speaker must sign up before the meeting. This is a time for the council to listen. No action will be taken. Now we'll move on to the action items. The first item on the amended agenda is item number 2, mayor's appointment, and that is for the Safety Committee, Tessa Fagley of the Police Department. I'm asking council to approve her appointment to the Safety Committee with the term which would expire on 12/31 of 2025. The purpose of adding Tessa Fagley is because Tammy Kearns, who was on the Safety Committee from the Police Department, retired, And just a bit of a reminder, the Safety Committee is composed of a representative from all the various departments. They meet, discuss safety issues. They're led by John Hood, our safety coordinator. And the idea is to keep the city safe, the employees safe, and to disseminate information from the committee out to the various departments. So I would ask that for a motion to approve Tessa Fagley as a new member to replace Tammy Kearns on the Safety Committee.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to approve the appointment of Tessa Fagley to the Safety Committee.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Deal to approve Tessa Fagley for an appointment on the Safety Committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Victorin. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the appointment of Tessa Fagley to the Safety Committee signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that appointment is approved. Item number 3 on tonight's agenda is addendum number 2 to the agreement for professional services with MC Schaff and Associates. Staff recommends approval of addendum number 2 to the agreement for professional services with MC Schaff and Associates in the not-to-exceed amount of $127,146.21 for engineering services and an estimated amount of $8,504 for material testing costs for a total cost of $135,650.21. And I would call on Director of Public Works, Mr. Jeff Harkins.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. On November 2nd, 2022, the city entered into a 5-year agreement for professional services with MC Schaff to provide the engineering services related to the Torrington Municipal Airport. Addendum 2 is for the design, bidding, construction oversight, and closeout services for the new terminal building project at the airport. The proposed building will be approximately 1,855 square feet in area, be of steel construction with metal exterior, and located just west of the existing terminal building. A copy of the proposed floor plan and location are attached to your package. Once the new terminal building is completed, the city will demo the existing terminal using city's forces. As part of FAA's requirements, an independent fee estimate is required to evaluate the proposed costs of the engineering services. Benish out of Lincoln, Nebraska was contracted to prepare the IFE for a fee of $3,600. This IFE is then used by the city and MC Schaff to negotiate the cost of the engineering services. The negotiation was completed on December 16th, and the results sent to FAA for evaluation. FAA responded on January 13th, 2025, with their concurrence in the award of the engineering services in the amount of $135,650.20. The cost of this engineering for this project is 96% reimbursable. FAA is 90% of the project engineering services. YDOT is 6%, and the city is 4%. The values are shown in my memo, and all total up to the $135,650.20. The city will have to pay for the costs up front, but then will receive reimbursement as costs are incurred. The construction cost of the new terminal building is estimated at about $850,000, which includes the engineering services shown above. The other funds that are available are the FAA bill, which is the bipartisan infrastructure law allocations to the city of Torrington that we've been receiving for the past 4 years, with an estimated $137,000 for fiscal year 26, which would bring a total of $722,000, which would be FAA's 90% contribution to the project. YDOT would contribute then another $48,133.33, which is their 6%, and the city would have to come up with a 4%, $32,088.89. So there are $802,222.22 of total funds available. If the cost of the project exceeds that amount, then the city would have to cover the overage at 100%. We will be asking for these funds in the fiscal year 26 budget. And you can see that the project bidding is to happen, estimated to happen sometime between April and May of 2025. Construction would be from July through December of 2025 with final acceptance in January 2026. Any questions?
Based on all that you said, what's a reasonable estimate of when the construction would begin
Probably in July
of
this year.
this year? 25, okay.
And didn't I see a projected completion date of December 31st of this year?
This year.
Didn't we do a very similar amendment not that long ago to this company? Oh, we did it a few months back.
The other amendment we did was for the NavAge project. That was amendment number 1.
Okay.
That was for the runway end lights and modifications to the regulator room, some wiring,
But it was similar to this amendment, right?
similar in form,
Yeah,
different project.
okay.
Mr. Mayor, I might add that this proposal, not necessarily specific proposal, but the concept plan was presented to the Airport Advisory Board a few months back, and the board was very much in favor of the project. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Director, but they wish to proceed with the project.
Yes, they do.
And thank you for saying that. I knew that, but I'm glad you said it. That board is composed of some really good people with a lot of aviation experience and aviation interest, and I know they would like that airport to be a first-class airport for a town this size, or a city this size, and to add to the economics in this area, all that it can potentially do. I know last year we were having discussions about hangar space being filled up on the front range and getting so expensive that pilots can't really afford it, and they're looking for other areas to purchase hangar space. This will be a definite spruce up to that airport. I think that old FOB building that's up there was probably built in the early 50s, maybe.
I believe so, yeah. I think it was originally built as a garage and then later converted to the FBO building.
And Mr. Mayor, I can tell you that a few years ago, I was waiting for the State of Wyoming plane up there, and it wasn't exactly the best place to be waiting for a plane to arrive.
Yeah, it's due. That's, 70 years that the current FOB building has been up there, so. And, there's a lot of merit to the argument that an airport really adds to a community in many ways. And my concern is economic ways. You get more traffic through here, you get people looking at the community, you get people who may be interested in bringing a business into the community, those sorts of things through airport improvements. And I also like the funding breakdown. FFA 90% and the state 6% and the city 4%. It's hard to beat that funding scenario, so.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, the city's share of the project is very minimal.
All right.
We will have to upfront the cost up front.
Right, and we discussed that at staff meeting this morning, and we have the funds available to upfront for this addendum, and we will be reimbursed.
Now, the floor plan included in this packet, is that what they're bidding on? Or that's what they're proposing, or,
Yeah, that floor plan, MC Schaff will take that floor plan, which they already have, and then they'll put a plan set together to put out to bid.
this just gonna be a single-story building?
Single-story building.
Said it'll be a steel building too?
Yeah, it's gonna be steel, red iron with probably tin around, wainscoting up 4 feet, different color, and then the rest of it tin.
And then regular operations can continue in the current building until this one is ready.
Correct.
And I recall from discussions, I think last year, several airports in the area have new, I call them FOBs, but they're tending toward the steel buildings for FOBs, it seems like to me.
Yeah, I think both Pine Bluffs and Lusk have very similar type terminal buildings, actually with snow removal equipment garages attached to it. This building is set up such that at a future date, you could potentially construct a garage off to the west side in the future. Fortunately, we don't have the funds right now to do it, or we would have probably, done the whole thing at once, but we're trying to get where we can get with what we got.
Mr. Mayor, I might add that this building, it not only serves as the operations center for the airport, but it also serves as a pilot's lounge. And I don't know if a lot of folks realize how much commercial traffic we do get at the airport. We have doctors, and I've seen the railroad come in, various other big business jets, commercial aircraft have come in. Their pilots need somewhere to wait, rest and relax until they're actually having to fly again. So the current facility really doesn't allow for that very well. There are restrooms and a couch, but very minimal.
It's kind of, the old building the use has outgrown the old services able to be provided by the old building. And again, it's 70 years old, the old building.
I don't see a designated spot for the airport manager. Is there an office there for him, or is it?
We'll utilize some of the areas for that purpose.
Mr. Mayor, if there's no further discussion, I would move to approve addendum number 2 to the agreement for professional services with MC Schaff and Associates as presented in item 3 on the agenda.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Victram to approve in item number 3, the addendum to the agreement for professional services with MC Schaff and Associates as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Kelly. Is there any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll call for vote. All those in favor of item number 3, approval of the addendum number 2 to the agreement for professional services with MC Schaff as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, the addendum set forth in item 3 is approved. Next item on the agenda is item 4, WAPA SLCA Purchasing and Scheduling Agent Services Contract. And for that item, I would call on Clerk Treasurer Lynette Strecker.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Attached to your agenda was this contract that was emailed to me from WAPA, Western Area Power Administration. A couple months ago, we signed a similar contract for our WAPA Loveland contract. We have two WAPA purchasing contracts for electric. The first one was WAPA Loveland, and then this one is the Salt Lake City Area Integrated Projects contract. It's smaller than the Loveland project contract as far as the supply of power, but it is at a very reduced rate compared to the power out on the market right now. So these are very important contracts to us for the electric in our electric fund. The third major source of our power purchases comes from MEAN, which is Municipal Energy Agency of Nebraska. They also oversee the WAPA contracts for us and schedule these purchasing power for WAPA for us because we don't have the means to do it. So this is basically just updating that contract, allowing MEAN to do that purchasing and scheduling for us, our allotted amount for the SLCA contract. SLCA is what we call the Salt Lake City Area Project contract. It's just short, all the acronyms. So.
Okay, and I know the answer to this, but Mr. Eddington's reviewed this contract and it looks good to the city attorney?
It does. We had one question that we got answered, but other than that, it's pretty repetitive from previous contracts.
Gentlemen, if you have questions for Mrs. Strecker or Mr. Eddington?
What's the duration of this contract?
I just think there's a 90-day out. That was one of the changes, so we don't have to keep doing this. Any party may terminate this contract by giving written notice of its intent to do so at least 90 calendar days prior to the first day of any summer or winter service.
But this is more than just a 12-month contract, isn't it?
Yes.
How long is it for?
It really doesn't have an end date, as far as I can tell. Can you comment, Mr. Eddington?
There's no termination. If you look at page 3, paragraph 4, it talks about term. Basically just says 90 days.
So it just goes till one or the other wants to dissolve it?
Correct.
Now, we've had these type of contracts before. Did the other side terminate this because they wanted to redo the basic contract, or?
I think this was more of an update with me as our scheduling agent than anything. We've had these before my time.
Yeah, these have always been in existence. I think it's just updating some language. I think it actually is beneficial to us because it specifically states in there that MEAN will schedule our electricity on our behalf, and it will not go to anyone else. It's strictly for the city of Torrington.
But they don't set rates or anything like that?
No, that's set by WAPA.
So all it is basically agrees that To sell us power, basically?
Basically, it's just an agreement to allow Mean to schedule our power purchases.
What I'm gathering, like, as the treasurer said, it designates Mean as the agent and entitles us to our entitlement of the SLICA allocation.
So we get billed by Mean.
Correct. So Mean will actually bill us for the energy or power we purchase from both Loveland and SLICA WAPA contracts. And they have been doing that since we signed our contract with Mean, was their Schedule M contract.
So nothing will change, we're just updating the contract.
Correct.
Absolutely.
All right,
Mr.
gentlemen.
Mayor, I would make a motion to approve the WAPA SLCA purchasing and scheduling agreement contract.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Deal in item number 4 to approve the WAPA SLCA Purchasing and Scheduling Agent Services Contract. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Kelly. Is there any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none. Item number 4, I'll call for vote. All those in favor of approval of the WAPA SLCA Purchasing and Scheduling Agent Services Contract signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that contract, WAPA contract is, in item 4, is approved. Item number 5 is approval of the bills from January 8th of 25 to January 21 of 25. And I would again call on Clerk Treasurer Strecker.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So attached to your agenda were invoices for your approval from January 8th through January 17th, which was the date that the agenda went out. And then tonight, we handed out an additional set for bills that we received since then, from 1/18 to 1/21/2025. I'd be glad to answer any questions on either set of bills.
Mrs. Strecker, I'm looking at the second set on page 2 of it. Payment to the Goshen County Clerk for 2024 election fees.
Sorry, where are you at?
Pardon?
I
Page
see it.
2,
Mhm.
Goshen County Clerk. Do we pay those on an annual basis or a biannual basis, or?
So every time we have someone running for office, so every 2 years, we'll get a bill. Basically, they handle all the voting registration, the calculations, do their own, the smaller towns. That usually happens in May for them. But we are a first-class city, so we let the county do that hard work.
And I'm not even going to venture a guess, but it's been years and years and years since the town of Torrington, when it was a town, did its own elections, right?
Yeah,
I believe we became a first-class city in 2000. I did a new proclamation with the state, and it was a population thing. And that. It was a long time ago.
On page 7 for traveler's indemnity, is that figure for the whole year,
that's a quarterly bill.
quarterly?
And that includes both liability, if you remember the trouble I had during budget renewal, that includes both liability and property and casualty, so.
Not a question as much as a comment, Mr. Mayor, but I see that there's $3,250 for the baler, so it's obviously beginning to cost us.
We are in the middle of a baler repair right now. The belt is worn, and it was down for just a little while, and the belt is on its way. I don't know if you have anything to add, Jeff, or?
It's just been ordered and we're waiting for delivery.
It's the conveyor belt that takes the garbage up into the baler.
It's more of a chain, is it not?
I think it's like a track, isn't it? It almost looks like a track on a,
I believe so, yeah. It's heavy, more heavy duty than just a, belt. And, obviously, our staff's gonna install it when it gets here. It's nice that they're able to perform all this maintenance work themselves.
I know what you mean when it's called a belt. When you look at it, it looks more like a track on a tank or a
Yeah.
bulldozer or something, a track vehicle.
Yes, and thanks to Mr. Estes for letting us know just how much our employees do to keep the thing running.
Mr. Mayor, if there's no more questions on the bills, I'd make a motion to approve it as presented.
All right, item number 5, I have a motion from Councilman Kelly to approve the bills as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Warren. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor in item number 5 of approval of the bills as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, those bills in item 5 are approved. Next item on the agenda is public comment, and I see Fire Chief Luis Correa back there. Invite him up to give us a report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's slowed down a little bit for us. We've had about a total of 5 calls. Some a little bit more serious. We had a fire in an attic that was caused by some faulty electrical wiring. We were able to get it out before it did any real damage to the house. We've had a couple of carbon monoxide detector. Turns out it was just at the end of its life. We also had a call up at EWC for a cooking incident.
Cooking incident?
Yeah, that burned some stuff in the dorm room and set the fire alarm off. And just this last Saturday, we actually had a structure fire where it was a total loss for the homeowner.
Was that east of town?
It was east of town, yes.
Any injuries?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Very good.
I'm not 100% sure if it was vacant. I believe it was a rental property, but I don't know if it was rented out at the time. This is what I understand. So, but other than that, yeah, like I said, just day-to-day stuff, trying to keep on top of maintenance of all our apparatus and keep up on our training.
And I think we've talked about this before, but since we're on the radio, I'd like to reiterate things. If there's a carbon monoxide call, the best approach for the homeowner is to leave the building, but leave the doors shut and the windows shut, so that when you get up there, you can actually measure something, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, that most people, their first first instinct is to open up doors and get that air cleared out. It makes it a little bit harder for us to detect, but we do have pretty top-notch monitors to do that, and it's pretty easy to find the culprit in most cases. But it gives us a better estimate or a better idea of what's going on based on the concentration in each room. So
Obviously, the key issue is safety. Make sure there's no one left in there when
Cor-
the others go out.
correct, yeah, it's depending on the parts per million or the concentration of the carbon monoxide, the effects will be onset faster or slower depending on the concentration.
All right, gentlemen, any questions for the fire chief? All right, thank you, fire chief, appreciate it. All right, we are in the public comment portion. Is there any public who would like to make a comment? I don't see any. Are there any councilmen who would like to make any comments? I don't see any. All right, we have completed the agenda for this evening, so this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, folks.